Hello everyone. I am happy to announce that we have just launched the 1.0 release of the Cloudflare Vite plugin. The blog post has just gone live, so I would highly recommend checking that out. And along with that comes official support for React Router v7, which is very cool, and that's what I'm going to be chatting about in this video today. I would check out the blog post. It has a lot of great info on getting started with the Vite plugin and how to deploy to Cloudflare Workers, including the React Router v7 support. If you're starting from scratch, we have this great command here and some templates that can just get you started. What I'm going to be chatting about is if you have an existing React Router app that you would like to deploy to Cloudflare Workers, what sort of changes do you need to make for that? So I'll start off using the sort of official address book tutorial on the React Router docs. It's a great tutorial. It goes through it starts off very basic and then goes through a whole bunch of features that React Router has, including sort of client-side rendering and routing, moving all the way down to server-side rendering and loaders and a whole bunch of features like that that React Router offers. So assuming that you've gone through the tutorial and you have the application up and running, what does it look like? It looks something like this. This is the code here. I can do npm run dev, pop it open, and this is what it looks like. So this is our example of sort of an existing React Router app that you might have running somewhere already in Node.js, and you want to get it running on Cloudflare Workers. So I've put together some steps here. This is the repo that you can go to, mheart React Router address book. Get rid of that. And the first thing that we're going to want to do is install a couple of tools. So this is the Wrangler is the Cloudflare CLI tool. The Cloudflare Vite plugin is what we've just sort of launched as 1.0. I will install those as developer tools. Wrangler is basically the command line tool that the Cloudflare developer platform uses to deploy workers, manage other developer platform products like the D1 database, KV stores, all sorts of things like that. So that's what we'll need Wrangler for. We'll also be able to, there's a couple of libraries that we can get rid of now. We can remove the node renderer and this little cross-env dependency as well, because we won't be needing that anymore. Then what we're going to want to do is jump into our React Router config that we went through and created in the address book tutorial. And we're going to want to add in here this support for the Vite environment API. Now this is a new Vite feature that enables basically environments that aren't Node to be able to render. Now Cloudflare Workers isn't Node; it's its own sort of JavaScript runtime, and so this Vite environment API enables. And by turning this on, we basically get server-side rendering in our app on Workers, which is very cool. The other thing we're going to want to do is modify our Vite config down here and add our Cloudflare Vite plugin. So first of all, we import it up here. That was the npm package we just installed, and then we'll add it to the plugins list over here, and we'll turn on, as I was just talking about with the Vite environments, we're going to turn on the SSR environment, because this is now a server-side rendered app. So we need this SSR environment. If you're just doing a single page app and not doing any server-side rendering, then you won't need this. So that's basically the only sort of bits of config that we need to modify. We do need to add a wrangler.jsonc. This is the sort of basic configuration file for a worker. It has the name of the worker script, the compatibility date, which is essentially what features of the runtime are we compatible with. And we ensure sort of backwards compatibility. So if you have a compatibility date of 4th of April 2025 here, it means any features that you're using, we sort of ensure that those features stick around for anyone who has that compatibility date. Any new features that we add that might not be backwards compatible, we make sure don't interfere with any script running with that compatibility date. So that's pretty cool. The main is our entry point, which we're going to create in a second. And then I have observability turned on here, which just tends to make things easier when you're starting out and even just generally. But you can feel free to turn that off later if you want. Let's go ahead and create this entry point. We'll add an app.ts in here. Now the contents for this pretty boilerplate actually. We can these type errors will resolve in a second, but we can this basically comes from over here, which is the official template. Now, if you created an app from scratch, you would get this out of the box. But this is basically the entry point of a worker. It has a fetch endpoint, and what we need to do is create the request handler specifically for React Router to be able to deal with it. So this is sort of just boilerplate code. There's nothing that you really need to change in this, and you can always grab it from this place in the templates. We're going to need to do a similar thing with and grab this entry.server.tsx. Because we're not in a node environment, React Router sort of automatically has a server entry point for server-side rendering for node apps. But if you're not in a node environment, if you're in an environment like Cloudflare Workers or some other sort of edge rendering environment, you need an entry.server.tsx. So we're going to need to add that as well. That goes in app here, entry.server.tsx. And again, it's largely just sort of boilerplate code. There's nothing really that you need to add in here. This is just sort of the renderer for the server side rendering aspect of React Router. We've added those things. We can add a couple of let's add a couple of extra commands to our. We can basically get rid of this now. We don't need that anymore. And then the other thing we can do here, get rid of these. We've just added some commands. Preview command here again. It does the build first and then a vite preview. We'll add our deploy command, which also does a build and then a Wrangler deploy. As I said before, Wrangler is our CLI tool. The type gen we've changed ever so slightly, the type check and type gen, because Wrangler can generate types as well. So we can now go ahead and run that type gen command, and that should create a worker configuration.d.ts. Now that's basically got all the typing that we need. Our app.ts now should have the typing in it. And it also means one cool thing about this that I might get to a little bit later is it means that you have good typing, strong types for any bindings that you might add to your worker. Bindings are a way to talk to other Cloudflare services and products. So we've done the type gen. Basically, that's everything. We're now ready, since adding those commands in here, we now changing those configs, we now should be able to develop in exactly the same way we were before. Everything's running with local dev. We also should be able to now change this. Let's do a build. Double check that everything builds. Awesome. Nice and fast. We can also run a preview, which behind the scenes will actually be running Wrangler in local development mode. So this is actually sort of a higher fidelity mode, something that's closer to production, we should see here these requests. This is all output from Wrangler. So this shows that the kind of the Vite plugin is doing its thing. We've connected React Router with the local Cloudflare development server, which is all very cool. I guess I can go ahead and deploy that now, and we'll get it up and running. Oh, there was an error in there. Interesting. We'll get that deployed, and hopefully, here we go. React Router. Boom, it's now live. React Router address book, michael.workers.dev. Those images are just kind of coming over an external CDN, I think. That's live. The only extra thing that I wanted to show, so that's basically everything. I mean, that's kind of, you just, there's a couple of config changes you need to make: vite config, React Router config, and then there was those two files, the app.ts and the entry server.tsx, that you needed to add that were basically boilerplate. You didn't need to change anything in there. What I will show quickly is if you did have bindings, so for example, with the way that environment variables work in workers, you basically declare them here in this vars object in your wrangler.jsonc. And this is also the place where you might declare any databases or any other sort of connections, workers AI, for example. They all go in wrangler.jsonc. And then we can run the type gen again. And what we'll notice, I wonder if it's at the top of this file. Oh yeah, you can already see here we've got this this env interface with strong typing. And the way that pipes through into React Router, basically now from our loader, we can add a context, and on that context we have this env that now has the environment variable that we populated. So for example, we could here in the loader return that link title. Then down here, we can get the link title in our sidebar layout and add it, say, maybe here. All right. Let's get that up and running, see if that worked. So it says React Router contacts. Now, if I change that environment variable to something else, React Router address book, something like that, boom, it's changed down there. So that's an example of basically how to get Cloudflare specific context into your loaders and your actions, and then kind of how they work in development, and they'll work when deployed as well. I should be able to npm run deploy that, and it should update the live version. Boom, boom, boom. Open that. There we go. React Router address book. So yeah, that's basically everything that I wanted to show and walk through. Basically the steps that you needed. Obviously getting started from scratch a little bit easier, just because the template's all ready to go. But there's only a couple of configs that you need to change. And then those extra files, and then you are away and running. So I hope that was helpful. Let us know if you have any comments or issues, and happy building.